I'm going to lead the practice today. We're just going to do a short eating meditation. I was thinking about something we haven't done yet on our podcast, and I thought this would be a fun thing to experiment with. Obviously, you can't do an eating meditation if you're out for a walk or if you're engaged in something else. So this is definitely one that you may want to follow along with and then come back to when you can sit down if you have an item of food with you. This is also a staple of our MSPE program. We like to do an eating meditation in our first session of MSPE, and so this felt like a good fit for our podcast and giving this a shot for today. So for me, what I'm going to have in my hand is just a cashew nut, but you can take whatever it is that you would like. In MSPE, we talk about using a piece of candy. You're welcome to do that. But any item of food will serve for this. And what we're going to do is we're basically just going to engage our senses and try to engage our beginner's mind with this, and try to just observe and connect with the experience of having and then ultimately eating this food item. So maybe we can begin by just taking a moment and getting in touch with our breath. If you want to just take a moment and close your eyes or just soften your gaze for a sec. And just take a couple of breaths, diaphragmatic breaths if you'd like, and just get yourself centered, letting go of wherever you're coming from or wherever you're going to go next. And just feel your body moving with your breath. And maybe just take one or two more. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and maybe pick up this small item of food that you've chosen for our practice today. And put that item of food in the palm of your hand if it fits there. And just notice it. Just use your eyes and scan it if you can. And try to look at it as though you've never seen an object quite like this before. Trying to engage that beginner's mind. Trying to approach this with a fresh experience. And just use your eyes to examine the surface of this object. Notice what the texture looks like. Any places of shadow or light that hit it. Notice the shape, the form. Just observe this object. And just noting any judgments that come up about it or this practice, and just seeing if you can let those go for the moment. And just observe with your eyes this object. And then maybe take the object in your fingers of your other hand and pick it up. Maybe with your pointer finger or your thumb, or however you're comfortable picking the object up, and maybe just feel it with your fingers. Move it around a little bit with your other hand. Feel the texture. Feel the surface. Maybe spin it around a little bit. Notice how it feels on different sides of the object. And maybe then return it back to the palm of your other hand and just let it sit there and feel the weight of that object back in your palm. What does it feel like just sitting there? Can you feel it making contact with your skin? And maybe again, reach down with your other hand and pick it up again between your thumb and first finger if you'd like, or however you're comfortable picking it up. And maybe bring it up slowly towards your nose. And just kind of notice when you can start to detect a scent, if it has a scent. Any kind of smell and any kind of memories or thoughts or judgments that get triggered by the smell of this object. And just notice them and see if you can let those go and just try to observe. Just try to notice the smell of this object in this moment. Maybe taking in one more breath, one more scent. And then returning the object to the palm of your hand. And again, just noticing, what does it feel like now that it's back in your hand? What does that added weight, that added pressure feel like? Maybe also notice if there was any reaction in your body to having the object move toward your mouth when we were smelling it. Maybe you were disappointed. Maybe you wanted to taste it. Maybe you can notice a little more saliva as you were anticipating perhaps eating it. Or maybe there was no reaction at all. Whatever your experience was, that's totally okay. And maybe you can take the object again in your hand and this time bring it up to your ear and notice, is there any sound you can detect? Any auditory sensation at all? Maybe not. Or maybe there is something you can perceive. Whatever you're noticing, that's totally okay. And maybe again, now bring the object back to the palm of your hand, again, resting it there and just feeling that weight returning. And now just looking at it again, maybe it's sitting at a different angle than it was before. Maybe there's something new you can notice about the object now that it's back in your hand, and just using our eyes to scan it. And maybe now we can again pick the object up and slowly move it toward our mouth. Just noticing what reactions you have as it gets closer and closer and closer. And maybe allow it to just sit on your tongue for a moment, in your mouth. You don't have to bite down. You can just kind of feel it in there. And just sort of notice what's coming up for you. Maybe your mouth is watering a little bit. Maybe you're feeling like you really want to bite down or swallow it. And just seeing if you can detect those impulses and just allow it to sit there. Maybe the consistency of the object is changing a little bit. Maybe it's melting. And now, with full awareness of what you're doing, take a bite. Bite down into it and see what gets released. If any flavor gets released. And allow yourself to take slow, mindful bites. Just noticing how the object is changing in your mouth, what you can taste and when you can taste it. And maybe when your body starts to get ready to swallow, seeing if you could detect the intention to swallow before you actually swallow it down. And when the object feels fully chewed, allowing yourself to swallow it down and just seeing if you can trace it as it moves down into your body. And now maybe wrapping up this short eating practice with just a moment of gratitude, appreciating what you just ate, appreciating all that went into the growth or the preparation of that food object, all the different hands or people or life that was involved in its creation, or it making its way ultimately to you and to the palm of your hand. And just appreciating this object of food and what it's doing for your body and nourishing you. And maybe just take a couple of short breaths. Let's just take 2 or 3 breaths to close this practice, to again re-anchor ourselves and get ready to move on with our day.